top 8 again.
This could be an interesting back and forth. Really depends on who gets to go first, who can get that attack off. 220 hit points is pretty good for Charlie to work into, and we'll see if an early Lugia can get the job done, or if Niccolo can find some help, but uh-oh, it's a 1-1 line. See you later, Gyarados.
Gyarados VMAX in the prizes, Heavy Ball being in the prizes doesn't help out either, doesn't matter. And both of these decks kind of share a similar idea of I want to get my Pokemon V with an energy attachment, prepare for the next turn so I can turn my game plan online. But Charlie Kerr's game plan is certainly a little bit more explosive, and I believe, you know, that ability of Archeops to always keep an attacker up and running is going to put Niccolo under a lot of pressure. Yeah, Niccolo's deck certainly could be considered the more fragile of the two just because of that energy placement being so crucial on the opening turns. However, thankfully, because they're a water Pokemon, you get to play 2 Melanie. We'll see if that comes into play. A little bit of extra energy acceleration and some card draw can go a long way when an Arceus deck is backed into a corner. Getting down to the table, finally, looks like Niccolo's going to get us started off. Arceus V in the active spot, and a Nest Ball. I already love Niccolo. Look at this. The Arceus V is intruding on the line there, going right into attack Charlie. You're just got to assert dominance, Kyle. You got to take up as much space in the table as you can. Maybe he'll refuse to play an energy because it'll get in the way. He attaches them underneath. It's just going to be a long line trailing behind the Arceus. But after this Nest Ball allows Niccolo to get an idea of what's in the prize card, sees that Gyarados VMAX is in the prizes, can immediately start pivoting to a different idea. This list also has, Slacking V in there, so still some potential to take some big swings. Definitely. We see also the Beaverl line is going to be important. As we see the Bidoof taken early, there is some opportunities. The Radiant Pokemon in this deck is the Radiant Greninja, which is not oftenly seen with Arceus, but playing those water energies could certainly draw some additional cards. So maybe Niccolo is able to find a lot of resources if they line up, but this hand is not the best. At least you have your water energy, but we're going to be waiting. Yeah, it seems to be a pretty, vanilla turn for Arceus V. The classic attach, pass, and now it's over to Charlie Kerr, starting with Lugia V in the active spot. Always great to have to evolve into the V-Star as soon as it's able. Professor Burnett entering play. Beautiful supporter. Search your deck for 2 cards and discard them. Seems like such an oddball ability, but it's tailor-made for this Lugia package. Yeah, and it's fishless as well. That's the best way to play Professor Burnett, not clogging up the bench with that Pokemon, which can so often be 2 easy prize cards up against an Arceus deck. Yeah, you have to love seeing this. Maybe a Tails as well. Get some additional bench Pokemon would be nice. Beautiful. Just immediately grabs the Lugia V, and this is the perfect setup, Kyle, because now if something ever were to happen to this Lugia V in the active spot, you have the second one ready and waiting to evolve and get your V-Star power going. Yeah, typically you're going to see attacks from the Arceus V-Star dealing 180 damage due to that double turbo energy. There's a world where Niccolo opens it up, finds water energies, gets those in play by way of the Melanie, and then uses that one-of choice belt to take a knockout on a Pokemon like that Lugia V. So having a backup is definitely going to be helpful. Beautiful having the third Archeops as well to read the wind with Lugia, just getting some resources. And Charlie Kerr likes that, sitting across from an Arceus, because it is a matchup where you aren't under as much pressure to immediately get the Archeops the way you are in others. Tough decision here for Niccolo. Sees the choice belt, could potentially lead to some help, but instead going to take the more conventional route, just use the Iono. Play to attack into the Lugia as opposed to attempting to knock it out. It would have to be playing the belt, ripping an Ultra Ball off of the top, and then throwing away the water, and then using Starburst to take the knockout. It would have been great, but those cards were not on the table here. Yeah, just reading the hand quality, seeing what the likelihood of that even lining up was. Instead, put the choice belt back in with the Iono, save it for later when you might need one little more clutch boost of damage. Palpad just played for the Iono once more. I think this really signals to Charlie Kerr that Niccolo's having a pretty awkward time of it getting anything started. Yeah, found Path to the Peak, which is a great card against Lugia V-Star. However,
You don't have an attacker lined up other than this Arceus V with the double turbo, attacking for potentially 110 or 90, however it works. Power Edge is not going to do very much here.
Just trying to get as many cards out of the deck, out of the hand as possible. Bibarel for 2 cards. Nest Ball.
And a V card energy. That's not going to do it.
Once again, just very awkward, very slow. Both decks don't mind taking it slow in the early game, but if you still end up a step behind your opponent, Lugia getting ahead in the prize trade is terrible, especially because Niccolo can't fall back onto Gyarados VMAX for this game. The 330 HP allows it to soak up a lot of damage and still have some really decent damage output.
How awkward. Has to play the Path to the Peak first, finds the Nest Ball, can't find the Radiant Greninja and try to draw out of this. Instead now just has to think of a secondary Pokemon to charge up.
Yeah, just taking one long, sad look at the Radiant Greninja.
Yep. You could have helped me so much. There's a Melanie in hand. There's no water energies in the discard pile. It all would have lined up so cleanly. Instead now, Power Edge for 110 is the potential attack.
And it's just, once again, using the Path to the Peak to stop your opponent from getting too far ahead of you also stops your ability to even bring things back to parity.
Power Edge for 110.
All right, goes for Power Edge, 110. It's a little bit of softening up on this Lugia V. Could pay off down the road, Kyle. But Charlie Kerr is poised and ready to pop off here.
No, he's not. No.
Wait a minute.
This is dangerous.
I saw the Ultra Ball. There's no way to bump the path?
Well, you'd think there'd be a Pumpkaboo, but that's not here.
I'm getting wet. Oh my goodness. I saw the Ultra Ball. There's Lugia V-Star.
Right? It should be that easy, but it's not there. It's not featured in the list. Charlie, instead now, theme deck mode is probably going to just attack
because
with Lugia
Charlie
V.
Kerr is running 4 bosses orders, so you got to cut something for that 4th boss.
Look at this hand, just nothing going on. Has to read the wind. Bank on these cards along with the gift energy
All right,
attached to
Niccolo,
the Lugia.
the Path to the Peak has kept the floodgates closed. The Archeops remain in the discard pile. This is his moment to really start to put on the pressure, especially with this damaged Lugia V in the active. One more Nest Ball. Grabs the Radiant Greninja anyway. As you said, Kyle, even if he's not drawing cards, maybe some Moonlight Shuriken comes through thanks to Melanie.
There's potential for anything at this point. Niccolo's just really banking on Bibarel finding an Ultra Ball at this point. Any way to get water energy into the discard pile, and you can start accelerating left and right here.
Just an attachment for the turn to the Arceus V. Bibarel for another 2 cards. Second path.
It's Ultra Ball!
Let's
go.
go.
All the cards to draw there, fantastic. Right off the top is going to get the 2 water energies potentially into the discard pile. And from there, you can use the Melanie, can start to accelerate, and you get an even better attacking Pokemon in the active in that Arceus V-Star.
I also like discarding the Path to the Peak here. You know that once this first path gets bumped, it's not really going to be relevant for the matchup. Keep that second water energy in the hand so you can just attach it elsewhere, wherever you need. Arceus V-Star, very easy grab off the top. And let me see, this alternate art was from the, it was some special Arceus set that they came out with. It's very rare to see this version because everybody already had their Arceus V-Stars before that came out.
By the time this came out, Arceus was considered not a great deck anymore. So respect to Niccolo for taking it out and playing. Sure enough, has another copy of it right there.
I mean, yeah, the Arceus connoisseurs in the audience right now are posting which set this special art does come from.
Ooh.
Gets the early knockout on Lugia V.
Charlie finds the stadium off of the gift energy.
Whew. So it looks like we might still have a real game here after all, Kyle.
We need it.
Beautiful double Arceus powered up. Charlie Kerr says, must be nice to have a bunch of energy in play. Let me try to do that.
First things first, we've got the stadium. We've got the Archeops. They've been in the discard pile since the opening turn. At this point.
All right, has Snorlax, therapeutic energy, nice single prize attacker to get some damage. Mesa Goza bumps Path to the Peak, finally unleashing Summoning Star so that Primal Turbo can help Charlie Kerr get these attackers powered up and start to mount a counteroffensive.
Yeah, just checking to see if there's any considerations for a Pokemon like Weirdeer in a spot like this. I don't think that the math would line up for a knockout just yet. Usually that includes Jet Energy. So probably just in two-shot mode. But at least we're playing Pokemon at this point. It was looking scary for a minute.
And after the Summoning Star, we need to attach, you see, double turbo energy maybe to this Lugia, get a hit, or do we just attach to regular, try to get maximum damage here, Kyle?
It's fine either way, and as long as you're dealing any damage to this Arceus V-Star, you're eventually going to clean it up, hopefully, with a Pokemon
no difference.
Like that Snorlax, and certainly you're looking for an opportunity where you can surprise your opponent and take a big knockout later on with that Weirdeer. So energies on board are always going to be a nice thing to see.
Yep, so Charlie does opt for the double turbo energy. It's a great card not only because the damage nerf doesn't really matter for this situation. You just have an easy energy in case you do want to treat this Lugia V-Star. And then the second double turbo going on to Snorlax.
Yeah, therapeutic already in hand, I believe. So that Pokemon will be lined up to take a knockout. Start to incorporate some single prize Pokemon into the prize exchange. And that's where Charlie's really going to make his money. Trying to throw off the count right here for Niccolo, who's already up 2 prize cards.
And after Tempest Dive, discards the Mesagoza. We're over to Niccolo indeed. Heavily damaged Arceus V-Star in the active spot. Fresh one on the bench. I would like to see one more attacker established here, but Niccolo is very happy to finally have access to concealed cards to see a little bit more. Defiance banned and Gyarados V drawn.
Yeah, Gyarados V added to the board. We do know that the V Max is in the next 2 prize cards, I believe, to be drawn. So potential to throw some energies on this Pokemon and eventually evolve. The card I was looking for this turn would be that Sharon's Care, a one-of, that's been added into this list. Really nice to heal off this Pokemon. Don't see it just yet.
Yeah, the energy is starting to get gummed up in the hand, so it's making it difficult to use the barrel effectively. This could be a manual attach for turn. Not really sure where he wants to put this. But the problem, too, is once the Arceus goes down, you have less energy acceleration. So if you don't have the attackers already prepared, it can be very awkward for you to swing back when you need to.
Yeah, the Defiance Band comes into play when you're down in prize cards. Niccolo obviously off to a very strong start. And here's the Starbirth. What are we eyeing up here with the energy attachment to this Arceus V-Star on the bench?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's Starbirth, maybe try to find an Ultra Ball, discard some stuff, barrel for a little bit more, keep thinning down. With Gyarados V entering play, Niccolo is potentially trying to threaten, right, the Gyarados V Max. Charlie Kerr doesn't know right away that it is prized. And at the end of the day, you can still Heavy Storm for 180, maybe just come up to take another prize when you need to.
Is the boss's orders already in hand? Oh, it looks like we have the Serena. That'll do the trick there.
Okay.
As we have the Choice Belt already lined up. 3 energies on this Pokemon. That's 230 damage to continue to advance the prize race and knock out this Lugia V on the bench.
I think that's pretty solid as well. You know that once the Archeops are in play, your opponent's always going to be able to attack you with something, and it just becomes a way. The strategy at that point, Kyle, right, is just to get around whatever they're attacking with and find those easy prizes when you can.
Well, the damage should start to stick at this point. Of course, it would take Charlie finding Collapse Stadium, benching even more Pokemon, and at that point, he's going to start to run into some susceptible Pokemon like Lumineon, and those, of course, could just be an easy boss away from closing out a game and moving on to game 2.
So Serena brings up the Lugia V, as you talked about, Kyle. Arceus V in the active with that Choice Belt that Niccolo had saved for later. Put that back in the deck with Iono. Now it comes back when that damage is needed.
I think it was water.
Yep, Niccolo just confirming the water attachment there on the Arceus V-Star. That's correct. We'll see if there are any more energies to be attached to this Gyarados V.
And this is great because now Niccolo's attaching the energies to the Gyarados V, getting a little bit more there. And after these 2 prizes are drawn, we'll have the Gyarados V Max in hand.
Lines up fairly well. There is, I believe, a double turbo energy in hand, so Could see this Pokemon attacking with a bunch of hit points pretty soon.
Yep,
However,
330, hard for Charlie Kerr to get through. Max Tyrant going to threaten 240 damage, but...
Yeah, the issue with the Gyarados is it takes 3 water energies to use Max Tyrant, so look at this, targeting it down. So I don't want to deal with you and all those hit points.
200. Oh, just 200.
Oh, it's not a knockout. Look at that.
It's
just
not
with the double
enough.
turbo.
And Gyarados V has the Get Angry attack, can strike back depending on the amount of damage counters that are on it. Might not even evolve this.
Hang on. Yeah, we're just an energy away, right?
One more energy. Is there a Melanie?
Just get angry.
Judge for the energy. Do
Get
it.
angry. Hit him.
DTE. Yeah, just get him.
We're not getting angry.
Oh, he's evolving and he's going in for the Max Tyrant.
I'm angry.
But wait, you need one more water energy.
The Hyper Beam can be used. You're in the attack phase if you'd like, but it looks like there's a little more going on. Why didn't we get angry?
Niccolo is a very polite person. It's his first regional. Wanted to keep his cool on stream, Kyle.
Oh.
That seemed like a layup to me.
Yep.
I think after getting the Gyarados VMAX out of the prizes, was it enough? Maybe my math was just wrong. 6, 2, 6.
Screwed that up.
The audience is doing the math right now for me. Oh, it's backing out of the play.
It's a lot. It's a big knockout. It would have been 400 damage and then reduce the double turbo. It was a super knockout. You get another prize card in game 2 because of how big a knockout it was.
This is just a long-term bait. Got the 3 prize Pokemon heavily damaged on the bench. Wants Charlie Kerr to go chase it down with the boss.
And Charlie top decks the research. He's still in this thing. He's got another research in hand. Let's keep going.
Yeah, the full art research is we need to see some additional attackers. Snorlax is not really big enough to contend right now with the current spat of Pokemon that Niccolo is threatening with.
I might need you to take over. All right.
Sometimes it happens like that, Kyle. It is Niccolo's first regional, made it all the way to top 8, and sometimes you don't think about the attacks on the Vs that you need.
It's such a cool attack. There was a whole deck around it previously.
It's not even about the not taking the prizes. It's just not being able to see such a cool attack on stream.
Yeah, I think the hat was a little too low.
But Charlie Kerr, after that research, finds the Weird Ear V and Radiant Charizard, 2 of the late-game comeback attackers that colorless Lugia loves to run. So if Charlie Kerr is going to bring this one back from the brink, these are the Pokemon that are going to do it for him. Damaged Lugia V-Star in the active spot. Niccolo's already used the 1 Serena. There are 2 bosses orders yet to be found.
All right, giddy up.
Frontier Road brings all of the energy up onto Weird Ear V, and Psy Shield Blast will deal 40 damage per.
Wow, look at that. The collapse stadium as well.
Beautiful.
Removes all that hard work that Niccolo was working on. At this point, you're running out of attackers, Niccolo. You got to lose a Pokemon here. Is it just Bidoof, or do you throw away the damaged Gyarados? There might not be enough energies to even attack with that Pokemon later on. We're running out of resources.
Yeah, has to double check the number of energies canceled out by the double turbo. It's enough, isn't it?
Oh, don't make me do this.
Oh,
1, 2,
no.
3, 4,
Chat.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Folks at home, whip out your calculators. We request your aid.
320 down to 280. Back up to 320.
Has to do
we are
one
there.
more attachment.
Oh, there we go. Everyone get involved. Pull out your calculators at home. It's a fun time. It's 320.
The V-Guard.
Through the V-Guard, we get there.
Okay. That is enough. That's a big Frontier Road. Weird Ear V built up a lot of momentum running all the way from downtown to take that knockout. But this Pokemon still only has 220 HP, which means that Niccolo maybe can strike back. The Defiance Ban already went to the discard pile, which wouldn't even be active.
Skarzik, who are we attacking with?
I'm trying to think here. I'm looking at the deck list.
Bidoof, who's left?
Slacking V, where are you?
We need to do 20 damage to this Pokemon. Well, I suppose a little less. There is one V-Guard snuck into the mix there.
Yeah, and if Weird Ear V can survive for another rep of damage, it means that Charlie Kerr will even it up and be out of options. We saw earlier that Niccolo didn't have enough energy left to even power up the Gyarados VMAX properly. There might not be anything in the list for him to Trinity Nova onto this Arceus V on the bench.
There are enough energies to attack with another Pokemon such as Arceus V. It looks like 2 energies that aren't double turbo, 1 that is. So if you could find the double turbo along with one of those 2 other odd energies, you can attack with Power Edge again and get the job done. Need to get the attachment this turn, or of course rely on that Melanie for some assistance to pull water energy out of the discard pile.
But it all just comes back, I think, to the Gyarados V. There was an easy attack to grab 2 prizes, have a threat in the active spot, and another waiting in reserve.
Did Charlie even know that it was an option? He bossed it up and attacked right into it.
Yes.
Said if you have an energy, you win.
Yeah, so Niccolo just had to back out, knew that Charlie made a big mistake. Didn't want to punish him too hard, I guess. But Arceus V-Star now in the active, 3 energies attached, gets the Vengeful Punch. Very cheeky.
Yeah, what an interesting way to potentially add some more damage onto this Pokemon. Would still be 10 short of a knockout.
So after the judge, both players will shuffle their hands into their decks, draw 4. Niccolo needs something massive off of this for certain.
At this point, most important card is to find an energy. You have the option of using the Bibarel as well. Seen 1 down, still use that second one.
Ooh, he's keeping it from us, Kyle.
Mystery, those are not great.
Pat to the peak, can bump the Collapse Stadium. Open up 1 more bench space. Get a card out of the hand for the barrel.
Plenty of water energies there.
Yeah, running really low on energy at this point. Part of Niccolo's strategy certainly is to get that Gyarados VMAX established. With 330 HP, it's going to remain in play for a very long time, and then you make use of those energies a lot more. Since all of the energies have been attached piecemeal onto smaller targets, the energy going to the discard pile is now starting to come back to bite Niccolo.
Wow, only drawing 1 card, not going to count to the stadium. It isn't energy, but is it a jet?
Yes.
That... You have to go to the active and now escape rope back out, take a single prize knockout. That is one way to attach an energy.
That is correct. The jet energy is mandatory. So after the escape rope, Charlie Kerr just considering this Snorlax that's kind of just been chilling on the bench the whole game. Niccolo comes right back into the Arceus V-Star.
Yeah, this is the wrong Pokemon to attack into. Of course, Niccolo didn't have an opportunity. Maybe you just don't even attach the energy at this point. But Weird Ear V is just going to come up active, take a knockout, and there's no Pokemon that challenges this.
1 more knockout. That's going to leave Niccolo with 1 more prize remaining. He's just making a big bet here, Kyle, that I'll somehow be able to find another KO when I need it to close out this game. With Path to the Peak down, Radiant Charizard's Excited Heart ability will not be active. Charlie Kerr has to get this stadium out of the way, and there's 1 more collapse in the hand if my eyes don't deceive me.
What a wild back and forth here.
Yeah,
Luminous
Niccolo, I
energy.
think, really demonstrated that this list is not a joke. The Arceus and the Gyarados just having consistent attacking pressure is something that we've established throughout the weekend is a recipe for success, and simply was not able to follow through when he had the maximum pressure against Charlie Kerr's slower start thanks to Path to the Peak.
All right, there is a counter stadium. There's a few of them in hand.
Okay.
Just contemplating which is the correct choice.
Weird Ear's hogging all the energy.
I'm not sure if there's another way to use this collapsed stadium. And Mezagosa potentially gives Niccolo some assistance, considering the Iono first. This Radiant Charizard cannot attack.
But didn't bump the stadium before?
No.
What's the I don't know if he realizes it, Kyle, that he had to bump that path to the peak.
Are there enough energies to retreat? Taking a look now with the Archeops. Should hopefully have a double turbo in there. Still has that option.
Yeah, maybe the plan was always just to attack with the Weird Ear.
Then promote the Weird Ear.
I don't know, Kyle. At the very least, the Primal Turbo ability allows Charlie Kerr to pivot out of this spot, painted himself into a corner by just going for the Iono and not bumping that stadium first. Maybe fearing the Radiant Greninja. After the Iono, wanted to make sure Niccolo didn't have access to concealed cards to draw, but the barrel's right there. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to make this play make sense, Kyle.
Yes, you are on the same path as me, my friend. There's a lot happening
We're
here.
taking a winding path through a dark forest right now, and Weird Ear Veer's taking the frontier road back into the active spot.
How do you get out of this mess? With the potential of a Melanie to attach a water energy along with the final V-Guard energy, you can deal 200, which deals...
Lost Vacuum, gets rid of Path to the Peak. Is there an energy for Radiant Greninja? No. You'd have to barrel, hope you get an energy, draw 2 more, find Arceus V-Star off the Ultra Ball, okay.
Even the best attack with Melanie would result in being 10 short. Double Turbo along with Boss's Orders would get the job done on any of these Pokemon on the bench.
Yeah, we got a nice glimpse there, Kyle. There are still 2 Boss's Orders left in the deck. A lot of cards potentially to be drawn. Can we thin down just a little bit more? Lost Vacuum, okay.
Very wise. Play the hand down to 0. 5 cards looking for Double Turbo along with Boss's Orders. Boss's Orders in the hand. One more look. Not there.
All supporters. Not even something to discard for Radiant Greninja. And Charlie Kerr threatening with this fully stacked Weird Ear V to take the final 2 prizes.
Only options, potentially Boss's Orders, bring up the Radiant Charizard, stall for time. Hopefully there is not enough energies to retreat this Pokemon.
Most of them are attached to Weird Ear V. I would like to see Niccolo double check the discard pile.
You've already seen the Luminous energy.
That is just a one of in the deck.
Not a threat anymore. Maybe a count on those Jet energies would make him feel a little more comfortable too. A few of those in the discard pile, 1 on the Weird Ear V. I think Boss's Orders on the Radiant Charizard makes the most sense here. Buy some time.
That's all you need to do is buy 1 more turn. You can thin down with the Judge, draw a little bit more with the barrel. Next turn. This was a very, very wild game.
50-50 looking at the deck. There's 5 cards left. 2 Boss's Orders. Nice call there, picking up the Radiant Charizard, trying to buy some time. Play
Benches
the hand
Arceus
down.
V, passes and prays. Does Charlie Kerr have the energy to retreat this Radiant Charizard?
Going to take a look.
Capturing Aroma to thin.
There's 1 Jet energy remaining. Finding the Drapion V.
Another Capturing Aroma.
There's 1 energy in hand. Is there another energy to retreat? Just thinning down to potentially try to draw into the Jet energy for the Weird Ear?
Actually, I'm going to go back.
He's going back in, he says.
Has the Ultra Ball in hand, can continue to thin.
There's a Professor's Research in the hand as well. Just keep thinning it down.
That's got to be the line. Continue to pull all these Pokemon out of the deck. Try to draw into this final Jet energy to promote the Weird Ear.
There's only about 12 cards left in the deck. If my eyeballing is correct, another nest for another thin. He's going all in for this play, trying to manipulate the numbers in his favor as much as possible. This is the biggest Professor's Research for Charlie Kerr right now.
There was potential to pull even more with the Lumineon to take another supporter out. If you miss by 1, that could be huge. Looking at the last 7 cards, looking for the Jet energy to close things out.
The crowd is chattering amongst themselves.
Not there. Not there.
No Jet
Not there.
energy. Didn't grab the Lumineon, a slight inefficiency there, and this was after not bumping that path to the peak to
It's
actually
on the
get
bottom
the attack.
of the deck!
Oh! And again, if you attach Jet Energy directly from the deck onto a Pokemon, its effect does not activate.
Double turbo off the top! Niccolo closes out game 1.
What a nail biter has the card. Both players learned a lot from that game, Kyle. I think that's the lesson we can take away.
I met Arceus. I met Arceus 3 times in that game. What happened?
We'll take a deep breath, recenter ourselves. Us on the desk, the competitors at the table, our audience here in the venue, our viewers at home.
45.
Get up, stretch your legs. We're going to go into this match with a fresh perspective. Both players are already beating themselves up, knew what inefficiencies that they made during this game and how they can clean it up, keep their mental clear and strong, and head into the next game of top 8 with a fresh perspective and a new plan to take it to a game 3 for Charlie Kerr's instance.
That was awesome. That was so cool. So many big draws for both these players, understanding the outs to try to close things out, and Charlie almost had it figured out. 10 cards remaining after all the thinning. Could have been 9, but it was the last card on the bottom of the deck.
That was some nail-biting ping-pong action, Kyle. And making the smart play, recognizing there might not be enough energies to get this Radiant Charizard out of the active spot. We heard the crowd cheer when Niccolo went for the boss's orders on it. They all knew that that was going to be the game-winning play. But
Wild start here in the top 8 of Sacramento. Niccolo playing Gyarados VMAX, currently up 1 game versus a finalist in a regional championship just last year, Charlie Kerr.
And again, it's been a grueling weekend of Pokemon. These players played each other in the final Swiss round as well, Kyle. So Charlie Kerr probably went in with a game plan and maybe tunnel visioned on it a little bit too hard. Niccolo as well. Throughout all the games today, I probably would imagine he could count on one hand the amount of times he's been presented with the opportunity to get angry and simply missed that opportunity. Just evolved the Gyarados, and as soon as he played that Pokemon down, that evolution down, you could see the look on his face that he realized, I've missed out on a pretty easy attack there.
As he retreated the Pokemon after the evolution, said, I messed that up. I don't know if he was talking about the amount of the retreat cost or the fact that he could have won the game right there. Either way, if we see that opportunity, I really hope he strikes this next time.
Yeah, they're making it spicy for us, certainly, Kyle. And this is why we're here, to just walk our audience through the tumultuous developments that occur during these games. And sometimes, even when a match seems fully in your favor, if you get too excited, you miss sequence, you take one misstep, a game can get that much harder to get the victory. And that ate up a bunch of extra time as well, I have to call attention to. If this does go to a really dramatic game 3, then if Niccolo somehow doesn't have enough time to conclude, or it goes into a prizes taken sort of idea, you know, the extra time that was taken in game 1 will have massive implications for that scenario.
All right, we have a hand for Niccolo, and it's looking pretty solid. Hopefully turn this into a great game 2. Prize cards coming down.
Everything's
double path to the peak.
So no path to the peaks available, and this means that Niccolo's not going to be able to stop the Lugia V-Star at the start of the game like he was earlier. This forces Niccolo to be a bit more aggressive and get those attackers up and running faster to keep up with Charlie Kerr's onslaught, thanks to Primal Turbo. Radiant Greninja in the active spot, classic Bidoof onto the bench into a Nest Ball. I see one Water Energy in the hand for concealed cards after thinning down.
Yeah, this is...
Grab an Arceus V here off the Nest Ball.
Pretty solid start here. The double turbo energy can be attached to the Arceus V. You can use that water energy to conceal cards, continue to see even more of your deck. You're only staring down the Lugia V with a V-Guard energy, so taking a knockout with Melanie's does not seem like a possibility anymore. So you understand you're going to have to attack in twice. Might as well do this with the double turbo.
So after evaluating the deck, figuring out where all the prizes are lying, Niccolo shuffles up, is ready to continue the turn. Charlie Kerr going for the classic Lugia V-Start attach pass. You know, typically Arceus is the one that's doing that, but with Radiant Greninja in the active spot, it's going to give Niccolo a lot more resources because in game 1, he set up the Path to the Peak to slow down that Summoning Star, didn't have access to concealed cards. So getting 2, 4, 6 extra cards throughout the game really does help these Arceus V-Star lists.
Doesn't get much better than this. Energy attachment ready to roll. Has the Arceus V-Star lined up for next turn. The Path to the Peak's the only piece that's missing, but of course with 2 in the prize cards, it's pretty unlikely to see any more of that.
Niccolo, I think, debating using this Ultra Ball right now. Are you scared? Are you going to try to Ultra Ball for a second Arceus V? Nope, just passes it.
I think we lose either way if this Arceus V goes down, so hold on to that. It can lead into the barrel for you later on, and then maybe you can get the ball rolling and find some attackers.
I'm going to go back in.
Luminion V from capturing Aroma. Second capturing Aroma. And this is great, too, for Charlie Kerr to open up with capturing Aroma. It allows you to evaluate what Pokemon you're going to have easy access to, and then you can save your other cards for finding those ones, like your Ultra Balls and whatnot, to get the things you actually do need.
Looks like...
Do we see any Archeops in the starting hand here for Charlie Kerr?
I think this is going to be a pretty solid turn. At least one Archeops in the hand. Another capturing Aroma. Another Heads.
Beautiful.
That's all.
Luminion could get Professor's Brunette.
If you have the Ultra Ball, this is unbelievable. you could use you could throw both Archeops in the discard pile and then use the boss's orders on the Arceus V. It's not going to be the case. However, this is still a fantastic turn 2 Lugia V-Star full setup.
Beautiful. Has the Mizagoza as well. And just going to shuffle up. After the Professor's Research, draw 7 cards. We got Lugia V-Star in the active spot finally. Get the Archeops up and running. And thanks to the V-Guard energy that was attached last turn and a gift energy this turn, Primal Turbo for a double turbo. And then another Primal Turbo to start establishing the next attacker. Charlie Kerr opts not to bench the Radiant Charizard as well, just discards it to the Professor's Research instead.
Yeah. Don't mind that at all. It was a difficult Pokemon to work into the mix. Worrying about the Path to the Peaks at the end of the game. There's a lot easier paths. let's just work on the Lugia V-Star. Maybe establish a second one as well.
I think Charlie Kerr also recognizing, if I'm remembering correctly, the luminous energies in the prizes makes it harder to, you know, rely on the Radiant Charizard. Even though it is a late game kind of attacker for your deck, if that's at the very top of the prizes, the Radiant Charizard is going to be a dead card anyway.
Yeah. Do you like to see the Lugia V played down? This is one opportunity where it looks pretty unlikely for Niccolo to have the answer to knock out this Pokemon. Double Turbo already on the Arceus V, so dealing 220 damage. It's not going to happen this time around. Gives you one turn to evolve this Pokemon and not have to worry.
Lugia V-Star, without Path to the Peak to stop this from occurring, is just so aggressive. Arceus V promoted to the active, has a double turbo energy attached. Arceus V-Star for the evolution, but Barrel also evolved up. Niccolo debating now the Ultra Ball, the Lost Vacuum, trying to empty this hand down a little bit more for Industrious Incisors.
Yeah, the whole hand plays out here. The Vengeful Punch on the active. Ultra Ball to search out whichever will be your main attacker for a good chunk of this game. Could eye up the Gyarados V or go for another Arceus.
Yeah, with both Path to the Peak in the prizes, you can't really rely on the slacking V the way you'd like. And I think the Gyarados is a nice option. Also is going to have access to Starbirth this turn, if there's something else that Niccolo wants to dig deep for.
As I reread Get Angry.
We're past that. We got angry earlier, Kyle, and we took a deep breath and counted to 10. And now we're here in game 2 with Niccolo on the back foot. This powered up Lugia V-Stars in the active, waiting to start swinging, setting some damage down. Got a nice Snorlax as well as a single prize option to keep the pressure up.
Yep, finds path to the peak 1 turn late. Wants to cash in on that Starbirth now, so likely playing that stadium. The problem is, you're still up against a Lugia right now, and you can just remove that stadium pretty easily.
Yeah, it's only useful in these early stages to prevent the Summoning Star because Lugia, with Tempest Dive and everything else, can just get rid of those. You can't really win the Stadium War. And you can see the pressure that Niccolo is under, has to consider every possibility from this position. One misstep means that Charlie Kerr is going to absolutely run away with this game. Already ahead 1 prize and is in a position to take 2 more.
Yeah, what a difference between game 1 and game 2. Just going first in this matchup seems so pivotal. Buys you the time you need as the Arceus player. And of course, the aggression of Lugia V-Star to attack on that second turn, take a big knockout, potentially eye up an Arceus V is so big here. And that pressure's really starting to be felt.
After the Starbirth resolves, Niccolo opted for Nest Ball and another energy card. V-Guard, maybe going to manipulate this math just a tad. Gone are the days of powerful colorless energy boosting the damage and allowing Lugia to hit these big numbers when it needs to. And if all else fails, maybe Niccolo is able to evolve into the Gyarados VMAX properly, have a 330 HP Pokemon in the active spot, getting a lot of pressure down. And Boss's orders onto the Minion V. I like this, and this was another strat we talked about in game 1, Kyle. You can't deal with the big Lugia in the active spot, just get around it. Take the easier prizes when you can.
Yeah, this is a nice knockout to continue to stay in the prize race. One foreseeable issue potentially would be Weirdeer V. If that stadium is countered, there's potential to, of course, find a lot of energies and maybe take a big knockout here. We'll see if Charlie has the pieces to pull that off, though.
And after the Trinity Nova, 1 onto Arceus V, 2 Water Energy onto Gyarados V. So the threats are starting to accumulate on Niccolo's side, and Charlie Kerr can respond very easily thanks to Primal Turbo. Second Lugia V-Star now entering play. 1 more Snorlax to round things out. Seems like Weirdeer V is going to be showing up way later in the game for us, Kyle, as that clincher of colorless Lugia.
Yeah, really like this play here. Use the boss's orders, take the knockout on the Gyarados before it becomes a problem. This is the amount of hit points that we can deal with. The Arceus V, V-Star on both sides now with the benched and active.
So Charlie Kerr is now ahead on prizes and with no favorable targets for Niccolo to take advantage of. Going to have to set up some damage on the Lugia V-Star. Is it going to be a punch into... There's no way to recover this Radiant Greninja now that I think about it, right?
Not that I know of.
There's potential for Defiance Band to help out a little bit, but Charlie Kerr has the V-Guard energy. Double Turbo's already hurting Arceus' damage. Maybe Vengeful Punch gets those 4 damage counters onto something important and gives Niccolo an out.
Yep. Niccolo's still holding on, trying to thin the hand down a little more. Find some resources with the Bibarel. Would like to have the opportunity to attack with a 3 energy Arceus that's not using the double turbo to maybe find a Pokemon that can be knocked out and take some additional prize cards. It's just not lining up right now.
There might be the potential to get Slacking V set up as an additional threat now that Niccolo is behind on prizes. It can use that Defiance Band, but it is difficult, right, for Arceus. You've already used your Starbirth to actually search out the cards you need when you need them. Melanie coming in big, get that energy attachment, drawing 3. Ultra Ball is going to be played here. Niccolo debating what other cards to discard to pay for that cost. And then search out 1 more Pokemon.
This could be the search for the Slacking V. The problem, however, is the hit points. You start to worry this is an easier Pokemon to knock out, potentially with the Weirdeer V. 2 Pokemon with 280 hit points right now, 1 with a V-Guard in the active.
Yeah, ideally, the Arceus deck wants to have multiple threats in play that are kind of hitting the same numbers, but because Arceus is always that attacking Pokemon that, as long as you have enough HP, you can ignore, and Charlie is turning Niccolo's strategy against him, where he can always boss around the Arceus and get the easier prizes on these smaller V Pokemon. And after Trinity Nova attaches some energy to the Slacking, its heavy impact attack takes 4 energy in order to get powered up.
Yep, just 2 waters there, so not yet able to deal the 260, hopefully 290 with the Choice Belt, and start working on some one-hit knockouts on Lugia V-Star.
Has the Sharon's Care in the hand, so that's always nice to maybe try to outplay some of Charlie Kerr's damage. But at this point, you know, taking 3 prizes is pretty easy. Just one more knockout on a V, maybe bring up the Bibarel for the final prize. Slowly but surely, we're working our way towards the finale of this second game, Kyle. And as we evaluate the board state, it's looking like a game 3 to me.
And it's certainly starting to look that way. Charlie continuing to set up some attackers, and now the Snorlax is ready to work into the mix. Obviously, a great threat here with Niccolo at 4 prize cards remaining. Potentially swapping into this Pokemon to deal some chip damage could be beneficial.
Yeah, I love the additional pressure you generate thanks to the therapeutic energy. The Snorlax is not going to fall asleep from its thumping snore attack, and it's just going to consistently threaten that massive damage and set up a 2-turn KO.
Charlie tried to thin out using the abilities of his Archeops first to then potentially find a Jet Energy to promote the Snorlax into the active. Does not find it off of the 3 cards. So Lugia is going to be at risk here.
And this is the reprieve that Niccolo needed, not taking a knockout this turn with an Arceus in the active.
Oh, the hand is just not strong right here for Niccolo.
It's so awkward, and these are the sorts of cards you can't thin out of the hand to set up for Industrious Incisors.
I believe that Sharon's Care was part of the Iono to the bottom of the deck as well. Would have been a fantastic card to find. There's no shuffle before the Bibarel as well.
So that card is going to be lost to time for now. You can play Path to the Peak to draw 2 now off of Industrious Incisors. The Nest Ball at least lets you shuffle.
Well, you won't miss next time because we'll have double Bibarel ready to roll. However, the retreat here is just a boss away from 2 more prize cards for Charlie.
And once your opponent, like we saw in game number 1, is down to only 1 prize card remaining, it becomes impossible to outplay. Niccolo has 3 attackers established and ready to go to swing on whatever's in the active, and Charlie Kerr as well has 2 attackers right now, 3, pardon me, and potential for more thanks to Archeops.
Wild to think that Niccolo will be ahead in the prize race following this turn after the fantastic start that we saw Charlie start off to.
Yeah, and losing out on the Charon's Care, has to retreat. Even though the Vengeful Punch is cool, you have the knockout thanks to Trinity Nova. I don't even know if there's enough energy left in the deck to get any meaningful acceleration here.
Gift energy really paying off. Loading the hand up before making the decision with Snorlax. If you saw Boss's orders, this decision is even easier to promote this Pokemon.
And now all Charlie needs to do is bide his time. Lugia V-Star going to be pretty safe with 280 HP. Is there another V-Guard to attach to it just to make absolutely sure? It's harder for Niccolo to take that knockout. Weirdier V is going to be, again, the finale that Charlie Kerr wants to get into play and power it up in the same turn. Doesn't want to have that 220 HP Pokemon waiting for Niccolo to potentially bring it up with Serena.
Charlie has the counter stadium. I believe it is the Collapse Stadium, however, and wants to work in the Luminion to Boss's orders, the Arceus V-Star on the bench, this damaged Pokemon right here, but has an interesting decision to make now. You don't want to play the Luminion and then have your Collapse Stadium out.
And Charlie Kerr just asking for some clarification for Slacking V's ability. This deck plays Path to the Peak to turn that off, but if Path to the Peak is discarded or countered once more, Slacking V would only be able to attack if Charlie Kerr was on even prizes. Wait, no, you have to be on odd prizes?
It's if
you have 2, 4, or 6, this Pokemon can't attack.
Yeah, right now it's it's on Niccolo's prize card. So Niccolo cannot attack because he's on 2.
Gotcha.
Usually you just put a path out there
and
hope to ignore it.
Whenever I've seen Slacking V, it's like path is there. We never read the ability, but if you don't read, you get cooked. We saw it in game number 1. If you don't read that, get angry.
Slacking's not the only one who's kind of lazy.
But yeah, just an Iono trying to disrupt. Snorlax V still in the active. And this is kind of a repeat of what we saw in game number 1, where it's coming down to the wire. Both players struggling not only to establish threat potential, get their Pokemon set up with tons of energy cards, but trying to keep their opponent from having the right cards at the right time. Like we saw Charlie Kerr disrupting that Charon's Kerr.
Yeah, what a wild sequence. Charlie just not able to take a knockout because of the mismatching of the stadium along with the Lumineon. Can't play the Lumineon down. It's an easy boss's orders knockout for Niccolo or the Serena there. So makes the right choice, but it doesn't feel right as Niccolo is just 2 attacks away from closing this game out on single prize Pokemon.
Wisely uses a Serena not for its gusting effect, but to simply draw some cards. At this part of the game, Niccolo needs to see as many cards as possible, have as many resources as possible to try to close this out down the road. Second Bibarel found off of Ultra Ball. Give you lots of opportunity as well, right? To Industrious Incisors into cards that you're able to discard, and then have a second Industrious Incisors to maybe draw 1 or 2 after the fact.
And at this point, you're just trying to thin the deck down. You want to make sure Boss's Orders, maybe even Escape Rope, are cards that you can find easily on this final turn. You're going to lose this Arceus V-Star next turn, most likely, and it's all about finding that last prize card to win the game.
Yeah, just attaches the Defiance Band to the Arceus V-Star. Not really relying on this extra damage. I think Niccolo is really, really honed in on just taking 2 single prize knockouts to close this game.
So wise here. Play the energy onto the Arceus V-Star. Make sure that you have a guaranteed attacker lined up. Slacking is a little unorthodox there. Of course, you don't have to worry about kind of lazy if you take the single prize Pokemon attack, but either way, knocking out an Archeops should be light work for this deck.
Yeah, this was certainly a muddy way to get there, but Niccolo has worked his way into a semblance of a strong finisher towards the end of this game number 2 to advance to top 4. After taking the knockout, going down to 1 prize remaining, Charlie Kerr promotes Lugia V-Star, and everything rides on this Pokemon being able to knock out the Arceus V and then take 1 final knockout on a Bibarel before Niccolo has the boss's orders.
Scans the deck, sees plenty of Pokemon, once more grabbing the Drapion V. It's down to scraps, trying to close out in this situation. Potentially worth considering benching another Pokemon that could endure an attack from Arceus V-Star if Escape Rope was the play.
You can only attack on odd or
You
even?
can attack on odd.
On odd, okay.
All right, once again, confirming that is how kind of lazy works. Odd prize cards. Slacking is 1 energy away from attacking for potentially 260 damage with heavy impact. Cool card.
Yeah, big damage in decks like this that can accelerate the energies. You make really good use of it. Goes for Tempest Dive.
Oh, it's a boss's orders in hand to close out for Niccolo off the Iono to 1. So smooth as he moves into the top 4 here in Sacramento.
That was a massive set for Niccolo. This is his first regional championship, Kyle, and he's advancing into top 4. Going up against Colorless Lugia, a deck that wants to hit very specific matchups to take advantage of the meta, is not prepared for Arceus Gyarados VMAX.
No one's prepared for that.
Not even I was prepared, Kyle.
That is unreal. What a match to move into the top 4. Going to be curious to see who's following along in the rest of the tournament. We did get a few of those results as we moved on. Looks like Alexander Aflatos took game 2 against Azul to move into game number 3. Ooh. So we have that one continuing. Sawyer Melbourne, 2-0 victory against Dominic to move into the top 4. And it looks like Dorian Stotts against Ryan Harris is in game 3 as well. So we soon will have all of our top 4. But let's take a look back at how we got here. Gyarados VMAX, Arceus V-Star, getting it done.
After that first game, you know, Charlie Kerr had a lot of respect for the Gyarados, immediately bossed it up in game number 2 after establishing the double Arceus V-Star. Just having Pokemon that can attack, drop some damage, but not potentially get knocked out in return means that you're putting so much pressure on your opponent to try to respond or boss around it. Charlie Kerr had plenty of energy in play, but was lacking the resources to get those important supporters when the time was needed.
Yeah, what a big turn here, taking the knockout with the Serena and the Choice Belt to move up to 2 prize cards remaining.
Oh yeah,
a lot
we
of
gotta
wild
take a
stuff
look at this
happened
again.
right here. There was a get angry opportunity for 400, but we moved past that. Retreat, ran away, and tried again.
It gave Charlie Kerr a big opportunity to bring game 1 all the way back, and we saw the struggle. Even though Niccolo only had 2 prize cards remaining, everything on the bench is massively damaged. The Weird Deer Veer taking out the Arceus. Seemed like, yeah, you can see, look at this. Flash forward, bringing it all the way back to 1 prize card remaining. Niccolo bossed up the Radiant Charizard, knowing that Charlie Kerr didn't have enough energy to retreat this, and Charlie Kerr trying to find Jet Energy to bring Weird Veer up into the active, but didn't get it off of Professor's research.
Just a little bit short there. Bottom card was the Jet Energy, and we move into game number 2.
I think this was big, Kyle, getting the early prizes off Lumineon, going ahead in prizes right from the get-go and establishing multiple attackers to keep Charlie Kerr under pressure and contained. Arceus can establish whatever attackers it might need, and Charlie Kerr is a little bit more constricted because of the 2 Archeops taking up bench space.
Yeah, conserving the energies, using all of the Pokemon at his disposal. Niccolo finding plenty of opportunities to continue to take prize cards in this matchup. Charlie tried to hang on, had an opportunity maybe to use a boss's orders on this turn. Could not find a way that he was comfortable with that Lumineon having to stay on the bench. Boss's orders would have ended it. Boss's orders ends it either way here with the